nailed it. Come here a minute and listen to this.
And so the cogs of an intricate federal machine began to revolve. The task of finding out about the intent of this foreign achievement eventually ended up in the office of the Central Intelligence Group.
We believe it was fired from a base in the Caspian Sea area, using their prototype ICBM as the rocket power to put the satellite in its present orbit. We plotted each circuit of the globe to be in a southwest-northeast direction and to take 96 minutes. That's about all we know, except that it is broadcasting on 2 common frequencies, and the signal is not coded. What we do not know is whether it is sending out code while over Russia, and if it is, what information it may be given. We think at the moment it may be nothing more than a device for propaganda, but they may have a big jump on us. I'll let Dr. Hemlick explain.
The intercontinental missile program has been held up awaiting some way to get a report on 3 vital points to do with outer space. 1, the exact density of the air at the altitude the missile will travel. 2nd, the effect of radioactivity on such a rocket. 3rd, do the other planets exert enough gravitational pull to cause deviation in the navigational equipment? The whole purpose of a world satellite is to find the answers to these questions. The first country to obtain these information will be able to fire a successful missile within 6 months. You may as well answer it, General. That's all I have to say.
Watkins here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right away. Yes, sir. Pencil, please. Thank you. Yes, sir.
The political pressures regarding this matter were terrific. Consequently, it wasn't long before a top-secret coded message reached the desk of George White, Chief of the European Bureau of the Central Intelligence Group.
Thank you very much for your kind cooperation. Yours truly, George White. Would you have that typed up and see that it gets on the courier plane to Washington, please?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Oh, yes. Will you send him in? I've been waiting for him. How you doing, John?
Fine. All right, George.
Good to see you. Sit down.
Thanks.
Oh, what's up? John, I sent for you because you're the best agent we have.
Thanks, George. But what's the job? When you start passing out compliments, I figure there's usually something pretty big up.
Something big is up. Washington has been on my back for weeks to get somebody into Moscow. They want to find out if the Reds are really on the right track with their satellites.
Well, aren't these satellites just a good propaganda move on their part?
We hope so. But they may be getting data that would put them way ahead of us.
Well, what do you want me to do?
You're going to be flown into Russia, then make your way to Moscow. There you'll contact one of our agents. It's all in here. Incidentally, destroy that after you've read it.
Yeah, I will.
The agent is a girl, but we think that she's the right one for the job.
A girl? Well, that sounds interesting.
Remember, John, we want information, not a repetition of that affair in Vienna.
Oh, that was completely different. Seriously, George, when do I go?
Right now. I'll drive you to a little airport outside of town. One of our best pilots will take you in a special civilian plane. And, John, I've no need to tell you, if you're caught, we'll have to say that we never heard of you.
I've been through that before, remember? Is it okay if I stop by my apartment and pick up a toothbrush?
Sure. Let's go.
White drove Manston to a tiny civilian airfield. Here they met the pilot, who was to fly the agent as far into Russia as was practicable. They were using a civilian plane with civilian markings to avoid as much suspicion as possible, and with the slim hope that if caught, they could pretend to be 2 innocent civilians who had strayed off course. White himself was not happy as the little plane lifted into the air. It is never pleasant to send a personal friend into such danger, but this job had to be done, and the best man had to do it. During the flight, all papers were first memorized, then destroyed, except for the false ones that identified the two men as tourists. It was not possible to proceed all the way to Moscow, the ultimate destination. The range of the little plane was not sufficient. Also, the vicinity of the Russian capital was too heavily guarded for a landing. Therefore, it was necessary to put down soon after crossing the border of the Soviet Union. There was a small vacant pasture, which the pilot had used before. After leaving the plane, Manston could expect no further help until he reached his contact. This meant traveling by the most inconspicuous ways possible, walking when necessary, and keeping constantly on the alert. At this rate, Moscow lay 1 to 5 weeks away. The capital was apparently peaceful and prosperous under its present regime. But attention was growing, and rumors were beginning to spread about the possibility of the military taking over control of the government. The people were not in favor of this, but military minds do not often consider the desires of the layman when making their plans. Once Manston got to the metropolitan area of Moscow, he found it easier to get about, as there were many tourists from the Western European countries in and around the Russian capital. His instructions had been clear. Go to a certain cafe and wait for a chance to make contact with the agent who was to act as his intermediary. On the surface, Manston was calm, but underneath was a growing fear that perhaps the political situation would disintegrate so quickly he would be unable to complete his mission. As the girl appeared, his immediate concern was to establish contact without being observed. On this action hinged the success of his entire mission.
Hello?
Did anyone see you?
No, I waited till the porter went upstairs to the floor above. You look different in these clothes.
May I verify your papers? What are your plans?
First, I must find out if you feel the same way now as you did 2 years ago when you contacted our legation in Turkey.
Yes, I do. I haven't changed my mind. My family was killed resisting the Germans. I escaped to Turkey and later married one of your airmen. He was killed in an accident, and that's when I made my decision. I was told to return here, and I would be contacting. But why have they waited so long?
You were being saved for the big one. And this is the big one. Through your contacts, we have to find out if the Reds have gained any advantage through Sputnik. And if so, how much?
Well, I can tell you this much now. They have all the information they want.
How do you know that?
In a way, even your Mr. George White in Germany hasn't learned. Last month, I became the mistress of the Minister of Defense. When the pig gets drunk, he talks.
What a setup.
I don't know exactly what data they've received from the satellite, but I heard him say it was enough for the engineers to complete their missile design. They all seem very elated.
I wouldn't wonder. Look, I'm going to have to get this back to headquarters as quickly as possible. It'll take them a couple of weeks to contact me with further instructions. In the meantime, I think it would be best if I stayed here. Well, that is, if you don't mind.
I don't mind, but in this case, well, I want to help all I can, but when Joseph gets drunk, he comes here. And for your own sake, I don't think you want to overhear some of the things that happen.
Look, in this business, I have to do a lot of things I don't like to do. If you can stand it, so can I. Okay, roommates?
Okay.
I know they've received at least some of the data they needed. I'm sure now they're ahead of us. I know the budget cut slowed you down. Good Lord, man, I'm not blaming the aircraft industry. I'm only asking you all to redouble your efforts. All right, as soon as our satellite is up, you'll get the data you need. But in the meantime, Arthur, just guess. And for all our sakes, guess right.
The aircraft industries did respond. Extra shifts were added. New factory space became available. Most important of all, the inventive and manufacturing genius of American industry was turned to the job at hand, to build a successful intercontinental missile. New manufacturing techniques, many of which were still only in the planning stage, were pushed to completion and put into effect. It was now possible for a section or even an entire factory to be completely controlled from one central point. Automation meant that every stage of manufacture could be minutely inspected during every production process. Fantastic standards of accuracy and unbelievable production records became commonplace. With many different models becoming available, it remained for the final testing to indicate which design had sufficient potential to be developed into a production model. Not only did the final model have to be capable of probing deep into space in search of vital scientific data, Its military potential was to be such as to discourage enemy attacks on the North American continent and on the millions of American people. As construction reached a peak, so did the tension. Millions upon millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money had been spent without adequate proof that such a project was even feasible. Before an intercontinental missile could be successful, engineers had to solve many new and insoluble problems. One of the most important was the design of the nose cone. So far, no material had been able to withstand the tremendous heat generated by the rocket re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Costly as it was, the only way to make progress was by testing, testing, and testing still again. As each new design was ready to be proved in actual flight, it was sent to Cape Canaveral. With it went the engineers who designed it, nervously awaiting the few moments that would spell success or failure for their months and years of painstaking work. A failure would have to be retested later. Tremendous cost. A successful flight would add one or two more precious scraps of data to America's steadily growing fund of information about rockets and their behavior.
I'm sorry. I got rid of him as fast as I could.
Oh, don't worry about me. I'm okay. You look like you got the worst of it. Hi, tell me, did you find out anything?
Yes, I did, but I'm afraid it's not good. There has been a split in the Presidium. Tomorrow, the military are going to push for a showdown. They want to strike as soon as the missile is finished and while your country is still unable to retaliate.
Well, when will their missile be ready?
I don't know. A lot depends on the vote tomorrow.
Hard to believe that a group of civilized men could sit around and calmly discuss how to murder 5 or 6 million others.
For the first time, we're ahead of the world. Such a power can do unbelievable things.
Looks like you maybe picked the wrong side.
I'm happy with my choice.
The Marshal has called this meeting to consider the use of Sputnik for military purposes. He now turns to the Minister of Economy and asks his opinion. The Minister replies that he doesn't feel that the economy can stand a war at this time, maybe in 10 or 20 years. The Marshal replies that time is short, that's impossible. The Marshal now asks his staff and the Defense Minister if they concur with him in this, and they say that they do. However, the other ministers do not agree. The Marshal is very annoyed and asks them why it is they feel they can't go along with him in this action. He emphasizes that he has the punch, the advantage of surprise, and the first rockets. The Marshal emphasizes that a destroyed New York would give full and absolute control of America to them.
Our agent in Moscow has gotten this information through. There's a new clique assumed power in the Kremlin, the militarists, and they're considering launching a missile as soon as they can. Now, I'll lay my cards on the table. If we can't come up with something better within a reasonable time, this country is going to witness the most frightful disaster it has ever seen. You've got to give me the answer. You've got to give me something.
We've whipped the problem of the skin friction on the warhead. Now that we have our own satellite up, we can modify the navigational equipment. And we're working on a device to protect the rocket from meteorites and radioactivity. Well, give us time. We will give you your missile.
Time? We have no time.
Had we half the money that was appropriated for such worthy projects as cheese price supports, we would have had our ICBM long ago.
I know, but you realize what a peacetime general is up against. But Eric, at any rate, you now have all the resources of the country behind you.
Yeah.
And God grant that we may not be too late.
George. George. Can I put the actual? George. Geez. George.
He's asleep. When he's like this, nothing can awaken him.
I wish I knew what was going on inside that brain of his.
Perhaps you will. He's going on an inspection trip to the missile site, and he wants me to go with him.
When?
He leaves on the train in the morning. That's why the celebration tonight. At the slightest excuse, he drinks, and when he's drunk, he wants me. Not for a nice party or dinner, but only here. Why can't he go home to his wife?
Oh, don't think about it. Sometimes when I'm in that closet and he's out here, I'd like to come out here and...
It has to be. I really don't mind.
But I do.
Far to the north lay this fully operational missile base. Standing ready, an intercontinental missile capable of completely destroying a city thousands of miles distant.
Ну ладно, господа, а сейчас наверх пойдем ракету смотреть. А ты, мой друг, пойдешь со мной? Не могу. Ты старый. Ну хорошо, оставайся. Оной? Иди. Контрольная комната порядочно.
Согласна. Все в порядке.
Я очень рад. Здравствуйте. Где же капитан? Скорей, капитан, скорей. Вот ракета.
Да.
Хорошо, вот и красавица. Я думаю, мы поближе подойдем, да?
Пожалуйста.
Ну и красавица. Какая громадная,
Вот
высокая.
она.
Согласен
Да.
со мной? Ну, хорошо, это прекрасно.
Да.
Поздравляю вас, господин капитан, с хорошей работой.
Спасибо. Да, поздравляю. Спасибо. Пожалуйста.
Значится, мы готовы.
Все готово. Все в порядке.
Watkins. Oh, hi, dear. No, why don't you go ahead and eat without me? We're testing tomorrow. Oh, I'll be here all night finishing this paperwork. Well, why don't you and Helen take in a movie? Honey, I just have to get these reports out tonight. I know, we've been through all this before. Okay, good night.
Each test flight had its accompanying tensions. But this was the most important flight yet to be scheduled. Several entirely new concepts of missile design were incorporated into this one model. Due to the tremendous pressure being exerted by both military and civilian agencies as a result of the alarming military situation, certain component parts were incorporated into this bird without being exhaustively pre-tested, which up to now was standard operating procedure. Time was running desperately short. The hopes of America and the millions of dollars invested in the missile race up to this point depended upon the successful flight of this one missile. Not only was it important that the satellite be successfully launched into orbit for propaganda and scientific purposes, but at the same time, the rocket itself would be proved capable of carrying a nuclear warhead to any point in the world. Everything had to work without fail.
So we were just switching to radar controls and everything went boom. Does not mean we do not have a successful missile that can pinpoint a target 6,000 miles away. It was just bad luck.
Bad luck? That's putting it mildly. I was counting very heavily on this test.
I'm sure we have an operational missile. One more test will prove it. In 2 weeks, we'll be ready to try again.
2 weeks? We don't have 2 weeks. If this test had been successful, I really think we had a chance to go ahead of the Reds. But now the fate of this country is hanging on a very thin thread. Their failure or our chance at sabotage.
Who are you? What do you want?
Well, Tanya sent me. Look at the note. I was awfully afraid I'd missed you.
She's run away from the minister.
Where is she?
She's up near Leningrad. She asked me to bring you there.
How?
By train. We can make the journey in several short trips. That way we won't need any travel permits. There's a train that leaves at 8:30. I've got the tickets. Will you come?
I guess I have to trust you. My name's Johnny Manston.
Morris Steele, British intelligence.
British intelligence? How did you get mixed up in this?
We rather like to keep our hand in everything. Actually, we've been trying to make contact with Tanya ever since she took up with the minister. Luckily, I had my chance on the train. She says it's imperative that you join her. That's what the note's for.
Well, I'm glad you made it. She says they're about ready to fire the missile.
We'd better go then.
Okay. I guess I haven't got time to wait for any further orders from Germany.
The Marshal says that newspapers are informing the world that The American attempts to launch their rocket ended in failure. He says that he has called them here to conclude their arguments and finalize the new military position of the Russian rockets.
Все силы пущем и пойдем прямо в атаку.
Careful. He's over there.
This is as far as I go. John wants to do the job on his own. I think he's right. You see, these woods are so filled with guards. Alone, he'll stand a better chance. Give him this. Wish him luck.
Thank you. Will you be contacting us again?
I'll try to set contact in Moscow. Tell him to be careful. You know, I sort of like the guy.
Hi.
Johnny. You're safe. I was worried. The police are thick in this area.
Oh, we had a few rough moments, but Morris got us through all right. I owe him quite a lot.
Why did you send him back?
Because it's a one-man job. It'll be tough enough for one, let alone two. Have you any further news?
They're going to fire the rocket at New York tonight.
New York tonight? Aren't they afraid of retaliation?
Your test missile crashed on takeoff. Our military feels it'll be 3 weeks before you can put up another.
We don't need rockets. Our Air Force can still drop bombs.
The Kremlin is positive that none of your aircraft can get through. Our anti-aircraft rockets have proven 100% effective.
Did Morris give you the TNT? Where's the site from here?
I'll show you.
I told you, I must do it by myself.
You couldn't possibly get in there alone. I've got to go with you. No matter what happens. Do you understand?
I think I do. All right.
Really, old boy, I don't know what you mean. Nobody said I couldn't walk out here. He did.
The power stations and the controls are over there. But they're heavily guarded. I think we'd have a better chance of getting in the compound from the other side.
Okay, let's go.
Winners planning.
Goodbye.
English, John.
So you're an Englishman. Let me see your papers authorizing you to be in this area.
Well, actually, all I have
Mr. Steele, might I ask you why you're in this district when your papers clear you only to Leningrad?
Well, actually, I'm afraid I lost my way.
I am not amused. Do you realize the seriousness of being found on this military reservation?
Yes, I do, and I'm sorry. In fact, If you'll give me one of your chaps to show me the way back to the main road, why, I'll be on my way to Leningrad and attend to my business.
Perhaps you were spying on us. Sabotage, maybe. Were you alone?
Of course I was alone. Look, nobody told me at the embassy that I couldn't go out and take a bit of a walk in the woods. I simply lost my way.
You are lying. You will tell me who was with you.
I've told you before, I was alone. What else could I say to you?
We'll see. I'll deal with you later.
Я слышал шум там. Иди посмотри, шпиона. Скорей, иди. Я слышал шум там. Шпиона, иди посмотри. В лес, скорей, скорей. Иди.
Come on, step down here. That's it. Come on, right across now. Yeah.
Поможи мне, быстро! Осторожно! Возьми быстро в лес!
Hey, Tanya! Tanya, we did it! Where are you, Tanya?
Bill, I'm frightened. Please don't go in today. Lots of men are staying home until these air raids are over.
I can't work over the phone like they can. You know that. Besides, I have to go.
Just like you had to go to Korea, and before that, Formosa. We were younger then. Now we have little Bill. You have to face your responsibilities.
That's what I'm doing. Pat, in case of a raid, there's nothing I could do for you and Bill. Here you'll be safe. But I can be of help on the air. Pat, in a real emergency, people will have to depend on radio completely. Besides, you can't believe all those phony stories and rumors the papers pick up and print.
Maybe I'm silly. If anything should happen to you, I don't know what I'd do.
Don't worry. Nothing's going to happen to me. Well, there's my train. Please, Pat, don't worry.
Well, so long, honey.
So if you want me to go out with you tonight, you gotta wear a tie. I'm tired of everyone thinking my husband's a bum.
I am a bum. Except for one thing.
What's that?
I'm a rich bum. I got $20. I'm gonna blow it all on you tonight.
$20 or not, you're gonna wear a tie.
Okay. I'll get a special one just for you. With a new dame painted on it.
Very funny. Very funny.
I'll see you.
Good morning, my boy.
Good morning, sir. Why did you ask me to meet you here?
I'm taking no chances. I'm paying you well. Don't leave under any circumstances. How's the market?
Oh, just fine. With the war scare on, you really should make a killing.
Thanks. That's good. Good.
Good morning out there.
This is Bill Deal again with the news and views of today. And I must say, for the first time in a long time, the outlook is brighter. The Middle East and the Far East are quiet, at least temporarily, and the Kremlin, through their Foreign Office, has made it known that they're open for discussion on matters that have long been in disagreement. Perhaps the large advances we have recently made in our missile program has caused this new thinking on their part. The successful launchings of our many satellites apparently has closed the gap in the missile race that has existed since they first launched their Sputnik 1 many months ago. It seems apparent that the new powers in the Soviet Union are far more interested in peace and an ending to the Cold War than their predecessors were. It is reported that a very important meeting will take place in the Kremlin at 8:30 p.m. Moscow time today. That will be about 3 hours from now, so we'll try and have something for you in the afternoon news. Now for some local happenings.
Капитан, ты проверил все?
The marshal is asking the captain if he has double-checked everything, mechanical and electrical. He says, now listen carefully, Captain. There cannot be a mistake. This is a great moment in your life. All right, start the countdown. Gentlemen, the ultimate decision has been made.
Приготовляй ракету на выстрел. Проверь электрические проводы. 8. Наливай кислород. 7. Закрой кислород. 6. Проверь платформу. 5. Проверь компасные инструменты. 4. Проверим всю механизму. 3. Проверь температуру. 2. Проверь ракетный вокзал. 1. Стреляй!
Yes, I know it's important. But the general is on his way from the Pentagon. One moment, please. Here he is now. 2 lines, sir.
Watkins here. Yes. Yes. Are you sure it's not an aircraft? Yes. Yes. Have you got a plot on its direction? I see, yes. Okay, keep me informed. Defense Command, please. Hello. This is General Watkins. Now listen. I want a red alert for every area east of the Mississippi River. No further phone service except for civil defense and the military. Put this on all teletypes. At 1400 hours Eastern Standard Time, the Reds fired a missile aimed at the eastern seaboard of the United States. The missile will hit its target in about 10 minutes. No other facts are known, but we'll try to keep you informed. One more thing. Alert all emergency forces in the country. We're going to need them.
Those things. I think they're stupid.
So she says I'm a bum because I don't wear a tie. I went out and I bought it. Man alive. Is she gonna love this?
Come on, you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see.
This one here's too much.
Wow.
Attention, everyone. This is a red alert. This is a real raid. The Russians have aimed a rocket attack at us. I repeat, this is a red alert. Anyone listening to me now, switch to civil defense, 640 or 1240 on your dial and follow instructions. I repeat, switch to 640 or 1240 on your dial and get your instructions from civil defense. This is a raid. Take shelter and do not make any phone calls. Please keep the lines free for military calls only. You have about 8 minutes. Take cover and listen on 640 or 1240 on your dial for further instructions.
Attention, this is a real raid. Your lives are in danger. Take cover immediately. Attention, this is a real raid. Take cover immediately. Attention.
To those of you still listening, follow these instructions if you can't get underground. Cover yourself with wet newspapers and lie still until the blast has subsided. Don't touch or eat anything, and above all, keep calm and follow instructions. All radios should be turned to civil defense at 640 and 1240 on your dial.
Okay, let me have it. That's what I thought, yes. The New York area. Okay, thanks. Buzz bombs, kamikazes, we could always shoot them. This thing is coming straight down. Oh, there's a slim chance. Nike controls, please. This is General Watkins here. Yes, General Watkins. When this missile shows on your scopes, I want you to fire every Nike you have. I know you can't hit it at that speed, but try. Please try. If only we had an operational anti-missile device, we might give some hope to those people out there.
Maybe the Nike will hit.
No, there's no chance of that. This thing is coming in at 18,000 miles an hour. Nothing can stop it.
Help me.
The President has called a meeting of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to discuss retaliation for this unwarranted attack. The White House has been moved to its emergency headquarters, and all military personnel are asked to report to their bases as soon as they safely can. Teletypes are dead. All we can do now is wait. This is Bill Deal, signing off. Pat, dear, if you can hear me, it just dawned on me that I probably won't see you or little Bill again. This is because I've been stubborn. I'm sorry. Because I really love you.
General Watkins. Okay, I'm sure you did. They missed with the Nikes. Give me the White House.
The suburban areas were spared, but metropolitan New York City was almost completely destroyed, with a death toll of well over 3 million. Regardless of possible disagreements over conference tables, in spite of the selfish interests of political factions or special interest groups, we cannot let this be the end.